It's only been 2 years since the arrival of 5th gen, and surprise, surprise, people are already calling them flops. This reminds me of the 4th generation where the same thing happened until the likes of IVE, the Seraphim, New Jeans came in and took over. The funny thing is that these 3 groups all debuted around 2022, a year before they technically ended. So yeah, safe to say, when it comes to being successful and stuff, 5th gen K-pop got time. That's it. That's the video. Kidding. This video is not going to be a discussion on their current or potential commercial success, because as you saw, it only takes 20 seconds to explain. Instead, I want to talk about the 5th gen through a more artistic lens. As a K-pop fan who in the past 2 years have consumed little to none K-pop and is now trying to get back to it, I want to see how bad they actually are, because a lot of people I see are saying that they're the most unoriginal, untalented, culturally ignorant, soulless, etc. Oh shit. Now, while these statements are probably true, I also think when K-pop fans say stuff like this, it is mostly used for hate. Therefore, the reasoning behind it always lacks nuance or is straight up false. So, in this video, I just want to see things for myself and really give my opinion on the 5th gen of K-pop. You know, just like the old days, classic K-tube, whatever. It's impossible to talk about the 5th gen without talking about its mama, New Jeans. As the most influential group of their generation, New Jeans did to 5th gen what Blackpink did for the 4th. The difference being, New Jeans are a group that conceptually and musically a million times better than Blackpink ever was, taking huge influence from the genres of the 90s and 2000s, whether it be UK garage, house, 90s and 2000s R&B, Baltimore club, New Jack swing. They would actually respect all these genres that they take from by 1. Studying said genres and not just taking the most stereotypical or surface level things from it. 2. Constantly collaborating with people who have history with said genre. 3. They put their own spin to it, making their sound distinctively New Jeans. But the main reason behind their success is not that. It's the fact that they actually put emphasis on the music. Ever since their debut, they would put most of their focus on creating cohesive projects that are all killer, no filler. From the visuals to the album art to the music itself, all of it always fits together. All of their songs are title track worthy, which is something that is not common in the music industry in general. So, you would think that with such great influence, 5th gen would at the very least be better than the 4th gen. Well, it's not that simple. You see, K-pop companies are dumb. They're out of touch. Instead of going deep, analyzing what really made New Jeans successful, they just took the surface level stuff. Soft visuals, Y2K fashion, minimalist concept, hook-centered songs, minors. They would take all these aspects of New Jeans, and from it, we get a group like Elite, which are forcefully decent. See, New Jeans' minimalist approach makes it easier for companies to make projects that are actually nice all around, because obviously it doesn't cost much budget to pull it off. And in their first EP, Super Real Me, they managed to take from the aesthetics of Ditto, the Y2K sound of New Jeans, and made a decent project out of it. Granted, it's only 9 minutes long, but In these 4 tracks, we got solid production throughout, sweet vocal performances, and truly amazing songs in Magnetic and Midnight Fiction. But then, in the latter project, you can really see the true intention behind this crew, which certainly isn't to artistically innovate, because everything about them have been very stagnant, especially in their hooks, where they are constantly trying to replicate the magic they got going on in Magnetic, which gets pretty fucking annoying. And really, every time I listen to their songs or watch their music videos, I just can't help but to feel the ungenuineness of it all. And no, it's not the New Jeans thing, it's the members, who are practically soulless babies. And this New Jeans influence is pretty much scattered throughout the whole of 5th Gen. The influence is definitely way more subtle than it used to be with Blackpink, but that's because New Jeans' whole jizz is inherently subtle. See, what New Jeans did behind the whole Y2K shit is that 1, they popularized a more risk-taking, experimental, FX-esque approach to concept, which allows way more mid to lower tier companies to thrive, because now they have the chance to do the whole experimental shenanigans while still being fairly successful in the charts and all that, preventing them from disbanding early. Again, as long as their intention is based. 2, they created a sense of transparency on the genres they took from, not hiding behind essentially meaningless terms like girl crush or cute, therefore making it easier for K-pop fans to differentiate between groups who actually care about the cultures or genres that they take from and those who don't. So yeah, New Jeans did a lot for K-pop, but for whatever reason, when people point out this influence, a lot of K-pop fans seem to take offense. I don't get it. Artists take influence from influential artists. This is simply what happens in every genre there is. And truthfully, in my personal opinion, New Jeans' influence on this generation is actually one of the main reasons why the 5th Gen isn't as bad as it could have been. So what is it? What is the actual reason behind 5th Gen's bleakness? This particular topic has always been confusing to me because K-pop in itself originated from Black American culture. Technically, from its sound, visuals, fashion, K-pop has always been quote-unquote Western. So my guess is when people say this, what they're actually referring to are 1, the overuse of English lyrics, and 2, music that caters to the generic radio pop Billboard Hot 100 sound. Which, the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to these two things are BTS with Dynamite, Blackpink with Ice Cream Twice with the feels. You know, I'm not thinking of the 4th Gen and definitely not the 5th. Sure, there is a significant influx in the amount of English lyrics, but that has always been the trajectory. Ever since the 2nd Gen, there are always groups that know their purpose and stick to it, and then there are groups that don't know what they are, therefore they often shapeshift into what's currently trending in the West. The difference with the 5th Gen is what's currently trending in the West is actually good. The mainstream is now filled with artists who put in effort, who takes their craft seriously and is a little weird. The most recent example being Gnarly by Cat's Eye. Mind you, I hate the song. I think it takes the most stereotypical aspects of hyperpop, it's terribly written, and the fact that it is performed by a girl group under Hype X Given Records irks me in a way that I thought wasn't possible. But still, the production is experimental. They took a risk by doing a song like that. But look at them now. They're blowing up because nowadays people just like weird shit. It's to the point now where if you're not mentally unhinged, you're the one who's weird. And I think this very much benefits the K-pop landscape because ultimately what makes K-pop great has always been the experimental part of it, the weird visuals and concepts, which has always been an aspect to K-pop, but now in the 5th generation, is becoming more prominent because the groups that don't know what they are now following trends that are inherently weird. A group like Kiki perfectly embodies the current state of the internet, where everyone is unhinged, where people say the most diabolical stuff just because, where analogies don't even make sense but we go along. Their EP, Uncut Gem, consists of 6 tracks that are based on the more experimental side of hip-hop, and I like it. It's cohesive, it features some of the best productions I've heard in K-pop, and there are no filler tracks. In fact, the title track, I Do Me, is, in my opinion, the worst song in the EP due to how safe it is compared to the other tracks. Sure, there are a lot of corny moments in this record, like the track Debut Song, which interpolates the Korean Happy Birthday song over a trap instrumental. Do I need to further explain? The girls themselves are lackluster at rapping, which is the biggest reason why this record is not as good as it could have been. A song like There They Go, for example, could have been perfect if they just rapped. Instead, they just kind of followed the beat around, singing these one-liners, which made the track feel more like a reference song for Watch the Throne than an actual song. BTG is another one where their rapping ability really gets exposed for its incompetence. The song also reminds me that at the end of the day, they're still following trends. BTG, if you don't know, stands for Been That Girl. First of all, you're 12. Second of all, stop. The lyrics are
culturally inappropriate,
and the repetitive hook of Been That Girl is tiring as shit. Still, despite all of their flaws, Kiki is a good K-pop group who clearly puts effort into everything that they do. Okay, so if it's not the westernization of K-pop, then what is it? When it comes to being culture vultures, the 5th gen has improved on the amount of cultures they take from. Black American culture still being the top dog. But despite this being the fact, you still have Kiss of Life. You still have Young Posse. You still have All Day Project. Other than that, there's m.i.a, whose entire sound is based on Brazilian funk, a mix of hip-hop, R&B, you know how it goes. Guys, let's make a prediction. How long are m.i.a gonna keep up with their signature Brazilian funk sound? I'll go first. I'm thinking their next comeback. Yeah, if you think m.i.a is not gonna ditch their signature Brazilian funk sound for another trending genre in the near future, then you're 12. And it's unfortunate because I like m.i.a. They have mature vocal tones, which is rare in this generation. Their EP, My Eyes Wide Open, is fairly cohesive despite its mediocrity. The members are charismatic. Surprisingly, I actually enjoy Hands Up. It's one of my favorite 5th gen songs, but every time I listen to the song, I'm reminded, why am I doing this? I know they're not gonna make a song like this again ever, so what's the point? We also have Baby Monster, which is the only 5th gen group that I have made a video on. And listen, at the time, I wasn't at the best location mentally nor physically, so I'm just kidding. Hey, I'm human. I have bad takes. Though, to be fair, they are huge, but it still doesn't change the fact that they are one of the worst groups in their generation. Taking huge inspiration from hip-hop, they are a funny group, because other than Asa, none of them can actually rap. The problem with this group is simple, really. If you want to do a hip-hop concept, and stick with it. Hip-hop is such a vast genre that you don't have to do songs like Love Maybe and Really Like You to provide versatility. Their latest album, Drip, is filled more with K-drama OSTs than actual hip-hop, making it clear to me that the team behind them don't give a flying fuck about hip-hop, and the girls themselves probably would rather listen to Taylor Swift than any other hip-hop artist, which is sad. On the other hand, you got Bad Villain, which is what everything Baby Monster should have been. Unlike I'm hungry. Fuck. Unlike Baby Monster, Bad Villain actually raps in all their songs while still providing versatility through their production and vocal performances. Still, at the end of the day, they are fake demons. It's borderline impossible to listen to them and believe in what they're saying and the image they're portraying. But as long as they don't out of nowhere ditch hip hop and all of a sudden make K-drama OSTs, then I think they'll be just fine. On the bright side of things, we still have groups that are in their own lane and not harming anyone in the process. Groups like QWER offers a very refreshing alternative that takes inspiration from the bright and cheerful sounds of J-pop. So far, they have 3 EP, and I just love how consistent their sound is. Their hooks are amazing, and despite its uniformly sounding songs, each project still managed to offer a different feeling. The same thing can be said about Boy Next Door and TWS, which offers competent projects and music that will not blow you out of the water, but at best you're gonna get tracks like Plot Twist, Go Back, and Serenade, which are these fun, energetic tracks about a bunch of Korean teenage boys falling in love. Very reminiscent of early day 17. And at worst, you'll get unimaginative tracks that sounds very generic. One thing about these two groups and boy groups of the 5th gen in general though, is that when it comes to creative direction, they fall really flat compared to even the worst of the girl groups. Like, look at this. Look at these album covers, man. They didn't even try. Nah. In my opinion, the talent pool was more or less the same. Arguably even better when you consider their age. Baby Monster, despite their very young age, are objectively better performers than a lot of the 4th gen groups. Rap-wise, it's the same shit. It's mediocre all around, but you still have a few outliers. Though, I do agree that specifically on the vocal side of things, there is a noticeable decline, but as I said, this is due to the trend right now that is more concept focused, which I actually prefer if the concepts were actually good. Truth is, most of the concepts of the 5th gen are derivative and trend heavy, but out of it, again, sometimes you get a group like Kiki, whom talent wise might just be average, but their concept makes up for it. Obviously, in a perfect world, I would love vocally trained idols who exist in a group that is artistically A-level, like aespa, for example. But even with aespa, their greatness is not guaranteed. Sometimes they really hit the mark with their grandiose and experimental sound. Other times, they'll give you the most generic shit ever. At the end of the day, this is K-pop, and behind every K-pop group lies a purpose, and that purpose 99% of the time is based on superficial questions like how to make this group the biggest in the world, how to make the most money out of them, how to make history. Inconsistency is simply what happens when you train your idols in every department there is, other than, I don't know, art. You get artists who doesn't have technical reasonings behind why they like or don't like certain sounds, visuals, or concepts. As a result, their taste becomes inconsistent. They end up relying heavily on other people for their art. And unfortunately, these other people are often egotistical individuals who jerks out to the mirror. An ultimate goal is to make themselves and their company successful. Make America great again. Look, K-pop has never been original. From Sotaji to now, the genre has always took from many different genres and cultures around the world. And the 5th gen, considering how it's only been 2 years since they exist, are fairly diverse. You got Triple S, a group that implements the diverse part of K-pop in a way that is actually good. They don't just take different genres, put them in one song and hope for the best. There's actual thinking that goes behind all of their music. Whether it be hip hop, R&B, hyperpop, EDM, they take all these different genres and actually do it justice. You got Artemis with their latest EP, Club Icarus, which solidifies their status as a K-pop group who actually tells stories. Obviously, us knowing a huge chunk of that story certainly helps, but ignore that. From their production to their music videos to their album covers, you can tell that they actually care about making art. You got Reseen, whose aesthetic might fool you into thinking that, oh, they're just a regular K-pop group. Nah, they're classic, yo. And what makes them classic is that they take inspiration from the right sources. From the laid-back, dreamy R&B soundscape of Red Velvet to the soft, pixelated sounds now associated with New Jeans and Illit, they would blend these classic K-pop sounds with the new trendy ones, and as a result, we get music that is laid back but also catchy as fuck. But ultimately, what makes them more than just a mere follower is the little details they put in the vocal layerings, to the ad-libs, to the overall textures of their songs, making it clear for me that they're legit. Who else we got? If you've been paying attention to this video, you probably know the answer to the question and my opinion on this generation as a whole. They are bleak, but what makes them bleak are the same things that made the previous generations bleak. The only difference being you've grown up, you're more aware now. You can see through the facade. Truth is, K-pop has always been like this. Though, I do have to say that the idols in this generation look legitimately soulless. Like they don't have any presence.
Or maybe I'm just getting old.
In conclusion, 5th gen K-pop is pretty much the same as it's ever been. Nothing much have changed other than the fan base, which is getting more and more intellectually challenged as we speak. I think people who are still active in the fan base now are either kids or genuinely disturbing individuals who needs to be put on the list of people who technically haven't done anything illegal, but we should definitely get a notification whenever they enter an area. Most of the fans who are normal have either become casual fans or have completely quit K-pop, which is what I've done in the last 2 years, but we're back now because personally, I'm at a point now where I get how the system works and how fucked all of it is, but I'm ignorant. That's why with Kiki, I know how corporate their weirdness is, but I'm here for it. I understand how mediocre m.i.a is, but they're my mediocre. And I think people's gonna reach that point anyways, so basically, none of this matters. Watch my previous video where I did a full review on Ruby by Jenny. It's awesome. Like you. Bye.